Well, so far in this Champions League knockout campaign, we've got past Monaco from Liga on penalties and then Bayern Munich in yesterday's episode. Now, though, we take on Premier League opposition in the semi-final and also the defending champions of Europe in Tottenham Hotspur. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 95 of Rookie to Royalty here on Shaun Does FM with Benfica. I hope you're doing well and coming up to the semi-final of the Champions League. We're going to take on Tottenham Hotspur, who are the defending champions and of course the team that we did sell Victor Hugo to just after we did join here at Benfica. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that, but it comes off the back of the quarter-final in yesterday's episode where we took on Pep Guardiola's Bayern. So if you missed that one and want to catch up, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Also included a pretty decent youth intake here with a Kiwi wonder kid, which was quite nice to see. But since then, we've played 2 games and unfortunately just not quite been able to get a trophy lift yet in Liga Portugal. First up, we picked up a 5-0 win over these days relegated União de Leiria, seeing as those guys sit rock bottom of the league. So a good win there with quite a few of our first team players getting a run in that game off the back of that second league win that we did pick up over Bayern. But then a few days before this game, we took on Torrente, which I thought would still be quite winnable with those guys being down in 17th, even though this one was away from home. But unfortunately, we bowled a lead twice there with our rotation. Dalhousen goal had a shocker there on a 6.0, and we did drop points, which does mean that technically we could still get caught, albeit the goal differential probably means that it's not going to be likely, especially because it would require us to lose all 3 games left in Liga Portugal. So really, we should get the trophy lift in between these 2 legs of this Champions League semi-final. So hopefully, going to be a quite successful episode for us here at Benfica, completing a domestic treble. But maybe we could make it a quadruple here this season if we can reach the final of the Champions League. But do so, we have to get past the defending champions in that competition in Tottenham Hotspur. They came from behind to get past Chelsea in one of the other quarterfinals. And also, despite losing to Leicester in their last game, I done something similar to us there trying to rest their first team. They do sit on top of the Premier League with only 3 games left in their season and 1 point clear of Man City. So to be fair, those games they've got coming up in the league, they might be a bit more important to them than the ones that we've got coming up with that big gap that we do have on top of Liga Portugal. It's kind of hopeful that the Premier League, it might take their mind off the job here just a little bit. But obviously, they're one of the better teams in Europe in this save, Julian Nagelsmann's men, especially off the back of the sale we made quite early in our time here at Benfica of Victor Hugo, who for these guys is playing up front. When here for us briefly, we were using him as a left winger, seeing as we also hit Piskunov. But yeah, Victor Hugo, a return for him to Benfica in the second league. But we'll see here how we get on against the defending champions of Europe. You would have noticed on the home screen, they are carrying quite a few injuries. So that might be something that can help us out. Van der Ven and Udogie, they're both suspended, and Sagali is out with a calf strain too, as well as a couple of unregistered players for us, though. We are also missing a couple of players, unfortunately. First up, Nehuen Perez is out with some sprained ankle ligaments. To be fair, these days, he's about the 4th choice centre-back, so that's not too bad. Out for 2 to 4 weeks, though, so it does mean Escudero does step up to be one of those backup centre-backs instead of Perez, who, to be fair's form hasn't been quite so bad of late. But more importantly, to our first team, Florentino Luis got injured in training and is out with a pulled groin. He could play if we really wanted him to, but is only out for 4 days. So we'll give him rest here in this first league, and hopefully he can make an impact in that deep-lying playmaker role in the second leg back in Benfica. So it does mean that we've got to change in that position for this first league. Franco Devia makes his way into the team in that position that Luis would usually be, and also we're still sticking there with Ronaldo at left back, albeit of late Nadi's form has not been too bad, but obviously that's in the domestic league. Champions League, it might be a little bit tougher, and as well as that, Kawamori is back in there in the shadow striker role. Piskunov goes back up front, so a lot closer to our best 11 than we've put out for the last couple of games we've played here in this Champions League campaign with Benfica. But Spurs, that is a very strong team. They've been right up there in the Premier League for a few seasons now, and also doing a really good job in Europe as well. Obviously, being the defending European champions here in the save, doing a little bit better than they are in real life here with Nagelsmann instead of course, Ange. And in real life these days, Thomas Franks. We'll see here how we get on this first leg away from home. Could be quite important. We noticed it a couple of days ago in the round of 16 when we took on Monaco. and got battered off the back of half time. We went 3-0 down, thankfully. We were able to turn things around back at home, but definitely don't want to be conceding 3 goals here in this game because Spurs are probably the type of team that we can't beat by that margin back at Benfica. So really want to keep this one as close as possible if we can, but that change in particular in the deep line playmaker role, let's hope that's not too bad for us. But to be fair, Franco Devia is quite a promising player in the saves. Hopefully he'll do a job for us in this game. But Spurs here are on the attack early. Twano was on the ball, but thankfully he actually went offside. I'll try and get that name right. From the Club World Cup, Twano. Got my S's and my T's mixed up there, but Spurs are well and truly all over us early. Not too sure what we're doing there from that free kick through Renan. It was an awful option, but thankfully they then stuffed things up. They did Spurs, so a couple of good chances for them early to take a 1-0 lead. Thankfully, they don't make the most of it, of course, against Bayern yesterday. Evan Ferguson hit an absolute shocker. Otherwise, we might be knocked out of the Champions League already, making our way through the transfer window, seeing as Liga Portugal is not up too much. But Eden Husick has picked up an orange injury, hopefully can nurse him through to halftime as well. As Rui Silva on a yellow card, that could be an issue. He's our most threatening aerial centre-back, and also Kawamori and Jesus Fortea have picked up yellow cards too in this first half. But that has been a very quiet first 45 minutes of this game, apart from those couple of highlights where Spurs had some big chances, which thankfully they did not take. So we're going to take off here the players on yellow cards as well as Husick on that orange injury. So what we're going to do here, I think, is just do a normal type of sub here. Prudi can come on there for Fortea right back, and also Magalhaes will come on for Silva, being the big aerial threat here we do have on the bench. As well as that, Matsoso will come on for Husick with that slight injury, fingers crossed that one's not too serious. And in terms of shadow striker, Trincao we could bring on, but actually thinking that Nicolas Martinez maybe is a better idea and try and cover Patoglu a bit more centrally, that could pay off because so far he's been pretty poor on a 6.3, so we'll just get him there to ease off tackles in that shadow striker role. But it does mean we've used 4 of our 5 subs up here at half time, so hopefully not too much more yellow card trouble in the second half of this game. Otherwise, could be a bit difficult if we go down, turn things around with the subs that we can make. But so far, to be fair, this isn't going too badly. Locked up at 0-0, but now Kalafatoğlu picks up a yellow card and has gone down to a 6.2. He's going to be forced here early into making our final sub. We're going to try to Rosa on there for Kalafatoğlu and pull Piskunov back to that shadow striker role. To be fair, he also not going too well on a 6.4. So let's see if he goes a bit better in centrally taking the field, and De Rosa can get something going for us up front. In fact, it comes from a corner. Magalhaes hits the woodwork, but Robert Renan at the far post, right place, right time to poke that one home, and kind of out of nowhere, we take a 1-0 lead here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Good effort there from Magalhaes, and Robert Renan thankfully stays onside and can bundle that one home for some reason straight down the middle, but thankfully the goalkeeper did not recover in time, and we've got a 1-0 lead away from home, which I'm pretty sure is the first time that we've done that in a little while, an away game in the Champions League. In fact, no, I'm lying, because we did that against Bayern in that second leg in yesterday's episode, but not too sure what we're doing here, trying to make our way out from the back. But thankfully, a good chance there for Spurs, and they blow it again. So to be fair, FM Gods here might be on our side at the moment off the back of yesterday's episode, where Evan Ferguson had a bit of a shocker at the moment. It's the Spurs attack not doing too well when we're gifting them chances. Unfortunately, now we're down the other end. That time can't quite pick up Magalhaes at that near post, and De Rosa there tries to unleash his shot. It gets blocked there by a Spurs defender. We'll see if this highlight continues and if we get a chance here to properly make it 2-0. Matsoso, a nice through ball there to De Rosa, who was a mile offside, and also he missed the target. So the our strikers so far in this game are not getting the job done. It's actually Robert Renan who's given us that 1-0 lead, but certainly been a lot better in the second half of this game compared to the first. Of Spurs at the moment able to keep them quiet here in front of their home fans, and if we can do that, then surely we're actually quite a big chance here of picking up the Champions League in our first season at Benfica, albeit now it is here Spurs on the attack, but the luck continues to go our way. That looked like a big clear-cut chance. It comes off the inside of the post, and thankfully it comes back out. So we hold on here to our 1-0 lead. Now that push on Johnson, I'm pretty sure is outside the box. Not too smart there from Fabio Ronaldo at left back on a 6.5. So maybe we do bring Nadi back for that second leg if he continues to go well in Liga Portugal. But thankfully, it is indeed a free kick. Let's hope here that we can deal with the danger. We push it away there through Andre Lunin. They take a shot there. He pushes that one over the top of the bar. So while we're here, we'll start to time waste a little bit earlier than we usually do, and also lower the tempo as well, and try and see if that might cut out this highlight, which unfortunately it does not, as Spurs here will float that one into the mixer. But thankfully, they weren't quite ready for that corner. Did seem to be a bit further back than they would have hoped there to try and put that one away, and they put it well high and wide. So still holding on here to our 1-0 lead, and now about to make our way to the final 5 minutes of this game. Let's chuck these wing backs onto fullbacks and also time waste even more and be more disciplined. And let's hope that maybe we can take a 1-0 lead back to Benfica, because that would be a big old advantage going into that second leg and surely give us 1 foot in the door of a Champions League final. And great work there too from Matsoso to get that ball back for us there down that right hand side. Thankfully just keeps it there, and now we try and get something going here down our left hand side. But Ronaldo a bit slow on the ball there. Does mean that Spurs now get a chance here on the counter attack. Pedro Porro makes his way inside the box. He takes one shot there, which thankfully it comes off the woodwork, but Mikey Moore can bundle that one home, quite similar to what happened down the other end from a set piece earlier with Robert Renan. And unfortunately, he has stayed on side, so it's going to be 1-1 here late on in this first leg. Off the back of this, we'll undo a fair bit of that stuff that we turned on before, but unfortunately, we just can't quite get a block on there through Robert Renan, and it fumbles its way over the goal line, and they do make it 1-1. So unfortunately, that does now mean that this one is all locked up. But still, it's not too bad away from home, certainly a lot better than what we did the other day when we took on Monaco in that first leg away. But to be fair, the same as we did when we took on Bayern yesterday, but that time it was in Benfica. I think this result, a bit better, being at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, hopefully might get a chance here to go back in front. Miguel here's that one just on the wrong side of the woodwork, and it hits the side netting. But to be fair, we've been ever so slightly on the front foot in this game, especially in the second half, and maybe a very late chance here from a free kick. Ronaldo will pick out Castillejo de Rosa, picks out Pretty here in some space down that right-hand side, plays it back in there for Castillejo. Matsoso floats it far post to Rosa, can't get a shot off, but Ronaldo, he can, but unfortunately, straight into the path of Velasco there in goal for Tottenham Hotspur. Couple of late yellow cards there, which hopefully won't hurt us too much in terms of suspensions, but that's okay. A 1-1 draw, a little bit frustrating that we conceded late there through Mikey Moore, but to be fair, both goals were pretty similar in the way they were scored, coming off shots that did come off the woodwork, and overall stats-wise, it was a relatively even game. So I think there, despite the fact you could argue ever so slightly on top in those 90 minutes overall, a 1-1 draw away will definitely take that going to a second leg of a Champions League final back in Benfica. And hopefully between now and then, we can also finally secure that Liga Portugal title. And going forward 6 days, and here's the result from that game that we did play off camera in the Liga Portugal. And thankfully, we are now officially the champions here of the Portuguese League off the back of an 8-0 thrashing of Chaves. On screen, you'll be seeing the trophy lift, but a really good performance from us here. Pedroto with an early double as we took a 5-0 lead in this game, and a number of other goal scorers too, as we put out a pretty strong rotation for this game. So it does mean our first team is very fresh here for the second leg of this Champions League semi, but that is an emphatic win finally to secure that Liga Portugal in front of our home fans. Here's the league table, so you guys can see how that has finished up, at least for now, with 2 games off the back of the second leg of this Champions League semi. But we are indeed the champions of Portugal, wrapping it up by 9 points with 2 games left. A big gap there over Sporting and Porto. It looks like one of those 2 teams they could miss out, albeit at the moment we're actually positioned second on the coefficient list here in Portugal. So maybe Sporting or Porto, they could get a lifeline there through our good work in the Champions League, which hopefully will continue with the second leg that we are about to play. And thankfully, we've got no big injuries going into that second leg. Still missing is Nihil Perez with those sprained ankle ligaments, but that's not too bad. We've got depth there in Escudero, and this bloke's just a backup centre-back these days. So thankfully, a stronger team we can put out here for the second leg of this Champions League semi off the back of a pretty decent performance away from home in that first leg. And also, we've made one selection change, as we suggested might be the case during that previous game. Nadi's back in there at left back, his form of late a bit better than Fabio Ronaldo, who, to be fair, did not go too well in that first leg at Spurs. Is going back here to a fully first choice 11 for this game, not just form. Our players are actually doing quite well these days. No need to change things up, which is quite nice to see. So hopefully with all these good combinations we've got here with our first team in the save, we can manage to pick up a win at home over the Spurs team, especially off the back of that really plucky performance away from home where arguably we could have won that one. Just considered that late goal, but as I said, during that one, both goals were quite similar. Some rebounds off the back of some shots that did come off the woodwork. So I think 1-1 is a pretty fair scoreline from that first leg, but here in front of our home fans, and quite hopeful we can get the job done over Victor Hugo and his Tottenham Hotspur team. Let's hope his return here to Benfica is not a happy one. Otherwise, he'll probably feel quite justified in making that move to Spurs, and it would be pretty funny if we then made the Champions League final the year he goes and joins the European defending champions. Might be a bit of the Harry Kane curse there with Victor Hugo, but let's see here how we get on in the second league. Hopefully our home fans here can push us over the line and we can make our first European final of the save and our first year here at Benfica, which to be fair, I thought might be a little bit more of a wait and see approach to see how deep we could go in a Champions League or even one of the lower European competitions. But no, we look pretty good here in our first season, obviously helped out by that big transfer budget. But let's see here how we get on in the first highlight of this game. Great chance there for Husik, some wonderful passing down our left-hand side. That was, but unfortunately, that one does get saved, albeit from the set piece. We pick out Rui Silva at the far post. Was just looking really briefly, Piskunov maybe with an early injury, but don't worry about that too soon because Silva has made it 1-0, rises there like an absolute salmon, gets over the Tottenham defence and buries that one. Not our usual routine going centre of the box, but it does pay off. So 1-0 up here early, and we've got the advantage in the second league. Let's hope now that we can hold on. Nice work there too from Robert Renan to rob that ball off the former Benfica man and Victor Hugo. And now Husik there makes a wonderful run down our right-hand side, floats that far post for Toglu, who loops it over Velasco and goal. We take a very early 2-0 lead. We've got a cushion goal, and surely we can hold on to this in front of our home fans. Some nice work there, that triangle down our right-hand side. Husik does get in behind. It all came from Victor Hugo, giving the ball away maybe there a little bit of some secret agent man work, because that could be quite useful from the man that we did sell to Spurs for really a much lower price than we should have, albeit now they've got a chance here from set piece, but thankfully Udogie will put that one well over the bar with one of their first attacks so far of this game, albeit maybe we've woken the giant here because all of a sudden Spurs look a little bit angry. Mastantuano does get on the attack, but big save there from Andre Lunin. It comes off the flag too, so no corner. So thankfully we're able there to clear our lines, but a couple of quick fire highlights there to Spurs off the back of us making it 2-0 through Toglu quite quickly off the back of that Rui Silva goal. And now we are back on the attack here. Fortea puts that one in there to Husik. Toglu with another headed chance. Unfortunately, it comes off the woodwork, but Husik puts it back in there for, I think that is his third assist so far of this game, and Kawamori will put that one away. We've got a 3-goal lead before halftime in the second league, so surely a Champions League final for us here with this Benfica team. From now, it would take a big old bottle job, but Spurs are going quite Spursy here and probably losing a game that they would not be expecting to. Obviously, the first leg, it might have damaged them just a little bit, not picking up the win at home, but still, this is a pretty big bashing we're putting on Spurs here. Not even Monaco got beaten this badly in the first half of that second league. We played against them a couple of days ago. It took us a wee while to get going, albeit a couple of injuries maybe did impact us in that game, but obviously very happy with how this one's going so far. A 3-goal lead, absolutely no need to change anything. To be fair, Emmanuel Nardi not going as well as I was hoping he would be there at left back on a 6.6, I believe it is. So maybe Renato will come on sooner rather than later. Obviously, that is also helped out by the fact that Nardi did play that weekend game in Liga Portugal with a ball over the top there for Piskunov from Toglu. Hopefully, he stayed on side. If he did, then surely that is tight over. And he actually did, I thought there, it was too good to be true. He must have gone off, but that makes it 4-0. Only 5 minutes into the second half. This is an absolute battering here we're giving the defending European champions, but not for too much longer, because surely that is now tight over. We make it 5-1 on aggregate. Good work there from Castillejo to find Toglu, and that run from Piskunov is beautifully timed. So with this first choice 11 for the first time in a little while here in a Champions League game absolutely bettering Spurs. While we're here, we'll play things safe and take off Nadi for Renato, seeing as he did play that game a couple of days ago, the only one here in this first team that lasted most of that game. So we'll play things safe here and make sure he should be fit for a probable final. He's the only player out there who was not on a green rain. We're still actually here on the attack too. Off the back of that sub, Renato gets brought down inside the box. This could be 5-0 because it's a pretty clear-cut penalty. Piskunov might be searching here potentially for a hat-trick. It's actually hard to keep track now of all the goals that were scored in this game. Husik's definitely been the main provider, but Di Pedro Porro there with a foul. Piskunov, can he put this one away? No, he can't. Straight down the middle, to be fair. That's probably the situation you don't mind him missing in with a 4-0 lead. Surely that won't turn the tide that badly. Now we're going to make here a couple of subs. Actually, Pedroto can come on at right wing instead of Matsoso. He's done quite well in the league for us recently. Our third choice right winger, who is homegrown club nation also. Manes can come on there for Kalafatoglu. And now, dropping down to red heart, it's Kawamori. Trincao can come on there in that shadow striker role. And we've got one more sub that we can make here with this final stoppage. I'm thinking that maybe someone like Rui Silva might be quite important to take off here. Just make sure he doesn't get injured, because obviously our big aerial threat from set pieces. Escudero can come on for him, needing to build up some of that match sharpness, because that doesn't look too good just in case we get some injuries there going to a final, and he could actually need to be used, but hopefully that won't be happening, especially now as we could play, if we wanted to, a pretty bad team in the last couple of games of the Portuguese league. But on the attack there were Spurs. Thankfully we're able to win that ball, albeit not doing a good job here of clearing our line. So it does mean Spurs here actually might get an attack, but by this stage really it's a case of too little too late. With only 15 minutes left, surely they won't score 4 goals and take this one to extra time. Actually now we're the team who might be on the attack again, looking for the 5th goal that we couldn't quite score before. Nice ball there forward to Trincao, but unfortunately he was offside, and also that did get saved, I'm pretty sure. So it's still 4-0 here. We're actually pushing for a 5th goal. Absolutely no need for time wasting with the situation in this game, because we're battering Spurs in the semi-final of the Champions League. The defending champions in this competition are looking anything like it at the moment. We've absolutely freshed them here in Benfica. In our first season at the Portuguese club, we have made a Champions League final off the back of an absolute thumping there in that second leg. Everyone out there did a brilliant job that we used in that game. Eden Husik with the free assist there in that first half. So that is a very comprehensive win. Could have been even more if Piskunov put away that penalty, but to be fair, hopefully saving that up maybe for a shootout in the final if we need one from a shootout in that. But that is a very impressive performance over both leagues, considering Spurs were the defending champions in this competition. That our easiest win so far in the knockouts, we make our way through the final off the back of a 5-1 win. So a very impressive win there over Tottenham Hotspur, especially that second leg. We make it 5-1 off the back of that 1-1 first leg draw, which to be fair, we could have actually won without that late goal. But overall, that was a very impressive performance. We made our way through to a Champions League final in our first year here at Benfica, which is a little bit awkward actually. Did think it would take us a little bit longer to make it that far, but hopefully can now finish off the job at the start of next week. You'll see there too, that also helps out the finances, which as you know is much needed. But going up here a little bit further, and you'll see who we've got in the Champions League final. It's good old Real Madrid. They made their way past Napoli on the other side of the draw. If we go back here to the semi-finals of the Champions League, they got past them 7-1 to the beefy. Those were two pretty one-sided semi-finals in the Champions League this season. Definitely think the two best teams have made their way through to that final, albeit Napoli and Spurs did actually finish second and third on the league table. So you could argue, we're expected to be up there off the back of our league phase performance. And Real Madrid, of course, are one of the absolute best teams in history in this Champions League competition. And they've got Enzo Maresca in charge. To be fair, I think we actually bet those guys back at Jan Regensburg last season in this competition. Hopefully can do something similar with this Benfica team, which on paper does look a bit stronger. But that's what's going to be coming up at the start of next week. They've got quite a few games in between now and then. We've only got 2, so that could help us too, able to give our first team a nice rest now, considering that we've already got wrapped up the Liga Portugal. These guys are still 4 points behind Barcelona, but do have 2 games in hand. So Real Madrid have a fair bit to play for in between now and that Champions League final. We don't have too much going on here at Benfica. Everything else is pretty much wrapped up, so we'll come back at the start of next week for our first Champions League final of the save, where we take on Real Madrid. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that semi-final. Big win there over Tottenham Hotspur. If you did, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well until the start of next week for a Champions League final, Benfica versus Real Madrid. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.